Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And today we are doing the final 2 episodes of the latest season 11 of American Horror Story. And the titles of these 2 is Requiem, 1981
slash 1987.
Right, and so they're
part 1 and part 2. So, Safi, what did you think of? Did these episodes give you nostalgia for, in the 80s when, you had to deal with this? Did it give you
it was really, we live in an area, I know there's gay people around, but it's not like we see them on the streets and in the stores, and it's not like in San Francisco. I've been to San Francisco.
Oh, I bet you have.
And even in Columbus, there's an area, and Yellow Springs, I think this is in Ohio. You just have certain places where you might see some gay couples, but where we live specifically, we don't. And I can't even
Instead, we
imagine.
see people who act gay. They're not gay, but they act really gay.
Well, Margo,
like they act really, really gay. Like really badly. Like,
what are you doing?
It's true, Safi. Like, remember, yesterday when you're trying to pull out,
and somebody almost runs into
there's somebody driving at 50 miles an hour and they almost ran into you. They were acting.
Time too.
They were acting really gay.
Okay.
Because they'd be in big trouble if they did that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and we didn't have to. We had to worry about pulling out of our other house, but you could hear the cars coming.
It's funny because it seems like this is worse than that. It seems like this is more dangerous than that, which is weird because we always thought that that place was dangerous.
No, this is worse because you're deceived by the ease of which you can pull in and out. And it really isn't easy because anybody can just pop in there.
Nobody can hear you, Safi, because of all the background noises of being in this room. And
anybody can hear you. It seems easier here because you can pull in and out very easily, and then you just get out. But it's a lot harder because there's a ton of people who live here, and they all go at different times of the day. So, anyway, this was devastating. I knew it would be this way, but you really see it when they show it to you in a theatrical.
Well, we both made correct predictions. I said, and guys, check the tape. I said in episode 1 and 2 review, Big Daddy is a Grim Reaper character.
Yeah, I thought
said
that right away.
And now you made the correct prediction that they would try to do the thing where after the serial killer is dead, AIDS would be the final villain.
Well, AIDS was always the villain, but was an undercurrent which nobody seemed aware of. But the lady doctor who was pregnant by her friend, she knew all. She had been researching, really doing very diligent research about what was going on, what were the symptoms, taking people's blood, and she was pregnant, remember, with her friend's child, Adam, who is the constant in these 2 episodes. He's the survivor, and because she dies, and she has all of her, she's done her notes on tape. She has written notes, but a lot of them are on tape, and the results, of people, maybe their blood.
Okay, Safi,
anyway,
what are you talking about?
She has record books, and she has everything.
Really?
And nobody looks at him
Safi?
and seems to care, but he picks them all up and takes them with him, and he starts just listening to her tapes. And then he finds out that
And it's so hilarious because the whole two-parter, you're thinking, this Teen Wolf guy, he's not gay in any way, shape, or form.
He just doesn't. I know.
He should have been with her. It should have been a story about him and her, because the way that he acts, he doesn't even like get sad over the other guy dying. You know, his boyfriend, like, he doesn't even really care. And then, like, they devote the whole final episode to him being sad over her, even though they go into comedic description where apparently she used a turkey baster to get herself pregnant, and she asked him to help her do that just randomly or something, and it's like, that was a total, like, just complete WTF, because it really didn't feel like that. It felt like they should have been a couple, and they dropped the ball on that.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad she said something, because I did wonder what happened. But the very last thing that she said before they kind of continue on with the episode and out of his space, although they pop him inside the episodes here and there, he's putting up posters, making sure people are educated about how they should behave when they have sex or whatever.
In the parallel, it's so hilarious because the parallel is that you have in the last episode, because Safi likes to jump ahead for some reason, in the last episode, half of it is Gino.
Yeah.
And it's
the deterioration of Gino.
It's all about Gino and how he's sad over Mustache Man dying.
And the Mustache Man is the first person to pass away.
And then on the other half, you have Adam, Teen Wolf guy, and he's sad over the woman dying. And so isn't that strange? Like, you know, Gino, he really loved Mustache Man, and so it just felt like a strange parallel, because the Teen Wolf guy is supposed to quote unquote be gay, and it doesn't feel like that at all.
No, it really doesn't.
So that was weird.
That is weird.
Wasn't that weird, Safi?
Yeah.
Very weird.
Anyway, I guess I shouldn't jump to that, but
yeah,
they all kind of developed together, and the first episode,
I don't think
next to the last episode, it was very sad.
Really?
And dark.
Did you cry?
And feel bleak.
Did you cry?
You feel like it was like today, right now, outside it's cold and dreary.
Did you cry?
Yeah, I had some tears in my eyes. No, but I did, because there was research going on, but just nowhere local that they knew about. And Adam was a very smart boy, because he had listened to all her things, and she came up with this disease I think is sexually transmitted, based on just her talking to people.
You're still jumping ahead.
Well, I know that, but anyway, the first episode, like I said, Mustache Man is the first to go. Which
no, he's not.
Yes, he is.
The first guy to go is Zachary Quinto.
I thought it was Mustache Man.
Safi, the whole first fucking half of the episode is Zachary Quinto.
Okay, he was at a
getting
funeral.
Fucking
what
Christmas
funeral,
carols.
Which funeral was he at then?
Zachary Quinto was at the funeral of his ex-boyfriend who he tied up in the gay forest, or what did they call it?
He had pneumonia, though.
The meat rack or something.
I don't know. That was weird.
You know, that was his funeral. Okay. And so you see what I mean? How it was weird. How the Teen Wolf guy, they don't really show him being sad at all. They just show Zachary Quinto. It almost felt like Zachary Quinto was the main character. But I was happy about it, because it seemed like for the whole second half of the season that they were just going to forget about his character, and he was some red herring. So I was really glad that he finally got some more attention, so that they could, explore his character more, since he is a great actor.
What was interesting, he was at the funeral, and you could tell he was going to pass out. And he did, and the next moment you see him in the hospital. And, well, not quite, but anyway, because he's having these visions. And the one thing that they employed in both episodes was this thing where, like in A Christmas Carol, when the ghosts come to visit Scrooge during the night, and then they show him things like the
whole episode 9 felt like A Christmas Carol.
It did,
but American Horror Stories version. And
the Zachary Quinto, the ghost that was visiting him was the boyfriend, the photo guy who was in that last season of American Horror Story, and he took him to rooms of AIDS patients who were there, and he said, "You recognize this guy?" And he said, "Oh my God, that isn't." And he would say, "Yeah, that's so and so." He would say, "Oh, he used to be so beautiful. What happened?"
And it was cool because those characters, they completely dropped off the show. And so it was cool to at least get closure on these random characters who they were there,
disappeared,
and then they were gone.
Yeah. And he said, "Well, what's wrong with them?" And he says, "Nobody knows what it is."
Nobody can hear you, Safi.
Oh, for God's sake.
You're whispering.
I'm not whispering.
Yeah, you are. You can see it on there. You can see, like, I'm talking, and you can see the spikes in the thing, and you're talking.
Okay, is this better?
Yeah, finally.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was sitting down. I'm cold. I'm sitting by the heat. Anyway.
Safi.
He said, well, what happened? He used to be so beautiful. And he said, they're sick. All of these people are sick. Nobody knows what it is, and nobody can do anything for them. Because he would say, well, somebody needs to help him do something. And they said, they don't know. He says they don't know what to do. And nobody seems to care. And so he showed him several people, actually. And then he says, you want to go back, or something like that. And he takes him back and he shows him himself. And he has a disastrous mess on his bed. And he looks like he's dying. He has this pneumonia. There's certain things that AIDS patients get because they lose their immunity and to anything. And one of the main things is this pneumonia. And then another thing, which Adam finds out he has, so we wonder what happens to him. He has Kaposi sarcoma, which are lesions that develop, and they can become cancerous.
The funny thing was that I thought, in my opinion, I think that the last 2 episodes should have been one episode.
Yeah.
And then they should have had another episode where they revealed it was all a dream. and then, no, I'm being serious.
No.
And that then it would all be reversed. Because this is a show, it's not real life. And so I felt like they could have had it be really cool where in this American Horror Story universe that they would make it so that none of it happened. Because what I felt like was that the way that with Zachary Quinto's character, it felt like they were purposefully taking him through this so that he could fund some sort of a cure or something. Like maybe he would be changed and he would see that he needs to help these people, and so that then he would use his money to fund a cure. Like
no,
that would have been cool.
That didn't happen.
It's obvious. It's not real life. It's a fucking show.
I know that, but I mean, the way he was so selfish, and he was hopping from bed to bed, and
he changed though. That was the whole point. Was that like they took him through like a journey like in A Christmas Carol. And so I felt like it would have been perfect if they had that whole dark ending, and then they'd have another episode where it would be the real finale, where it would all be reversed. That would have been really cool.
Well, Zachary Quinto does not survive. You assume that because you never see him again.
No, he doesn't, obviously, Safi. They had this whole thing, which it really felt like the Seventh Seal movie, kinda. Remember that, Safi?
Oh, no, not that one we saw. It was horrible.
No, the Seventh Seal.
I don't know,
The
Marco.
black and white movie with the Grim Reaper.
Yeah?
The Swedish movie. It felt like that movie. It was really cool because it was so artistic and so good in terms of that. There were a couple of things, though, I guess Safi's done now.
I don't know what else. I'm afraid I'm going to go into the next episode.
Do you want to explain the rest of the episode? Like, you want to keep on
Well, was this
explaining?
mustache man dying now? Okay.
It was Zachary Quinto's dead, and then the mustache man's dead. And that's the end of the episode.
And I was surprised that the mustache man, that he would be the next one, but I guess whatever they were doing.
It was completely out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But it just felt like that was the theme of the episode.
And the person who took him around, as a dying person
was Ursula from season 10.
And she was kind of like dressed as an angel. She was in white, and she kind of glowed. And the problem with him and how it developed with him, it wasn't just that maybe he had pneumonia. I didn't hear that part, but he lost his retinas. Both of his retinas and his eyes detached, which left him blind.
And then
I couldn't believe that was so horrible.
And then he saw her, and so that was the clue that he was gonna die.
Yeah.
So you had those two. That was the episode. It was just those two things, and it was funny because I thought that this was probably the best episode of the season. And it was the longest out of these recent episodes.
Yeah.
So I thought it was perfect. I give it an A+.
Yeah, I agree. It moved me, and because I just can't even imagine what it would have been like for these people to have the serious problems. And they're not. The thing is, it's kind of like COVID. They didn't
Safi, no, it's nothing like that fucking virus.
Yes, it didn't.
It's nothing like that, Safi.
Are you insane?
It's no way like that,
They didn't all
Safi.
get Kaposi's. They
Safi,
didn't all
that
get
is
the pneumonia.
fucking ridiculous.
They all got different things. It was just their...
Gag me with a spoon.
Oh, cut it out. Their immune systems just shut down and they could catch anything. And so that was part of the problem, too. But they were sick. That was the thing. And their immune systems were so badly compromised, they were just, anything out in that atmosphere, it would just attach to them and make them so sick that then they would die. And so his ex-wife, he saw her and he was so happy because he thought, I can see. And then what was interesting about her, she didn't take him to other AIDS patients. She took him around to scenes, crime scenes.
Like A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, that was more. Actually, that part was more like A Christmas Carol because they were events or scenes like when he met. One of them was when he met Gino, and she explained with a line. They didn't make a whole big long thing like I'm doing.
There was a queer thing where she said, you fell in love with... He just had this swagger about him.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he didn't
fell
like
in love with his swagger.
And she didn't like the swagger.
And I just thought, that's so queer.
Yeah, especially for Gino.
That's a straight woman wouldn't say that.
I don't think so.
You think a straight woman would say, you really fell in love with his swagger?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Because for one thing, he didn't have any swagger. I don't know what
Gino did.
You think so?
He walked onto the scene. He's got his leather jacket on, and he's got sunglasses on, and it was sad though because I was expecting him to have like a temper tantrum.
He did have a temper tantrum.
Well, that was later on. I mean, like on the crime scene.
I was going to say he didn't make it throughout for an episode without having one.
Well, but he was at this crime scene and there was some like queer like undertone where it said like, this guy, we think he fell out of the window, but
oh yeah,
but it's suspicious, and it's like, oh, is this just a crime that the police are covering up because he's gay or something? And so I was really excited because I thought, oh, I can't wait to see Gino come in here and just go like, this is not a fucking suicide. And, you know, I was really expecting for him to just, like, unload.
He didn't do that.
And instead of that, he just, he gives Mustache Man his phone number, and then he, like, walks away in, like, a weird way. And it was really hilarious.
Yeah.
Because he, you know, he's Gino.
And Gino, because he had to be Gino, at the funeral.
No, but before that, there was another scene with him where he's with Mustache Man in the hospital, and he's
God.
like,
That's why I didn't want to remember it, because it was gross.
I brought the good stuff, Mustache Man. I brought the applesauce with cinnamon. It has cinnamon in it. And he took it out, and he's feeding it to Mustache Man, and he's like, yum, 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 yum. And then he licks the spoon.
And he's sick. He knows he's sick. And he licks the spoon.
He knows that there's this deadly virus going around and that his boyfriend has it, and he licks the fucking spoon. And it's like you have to wonder,
God.
Did he do that on purpose?
I don't know.
So that he would die with his soulmate?
I mean, it's bodily fluid, so... Oh, God, just the thought of that makes me want to irp.
That was so bizarre, because it just felt like the ultimate Gino thing to do.
Yeah. Poor man. And then...
there was an amazing scene at the funeral.
And that was when Gino got to do what he does best. Have a fit. And what happened was, he was mad that it was a closed casket. Because he said that the guy, now I didn't know if he knew this for sure, but he just felt like he knew that the man, his friend, would want this. He didn't, so I don't know if it was a technical thing where he wanted it like in writing, or he had said it to him, or what, or he just knew him well enough to think that's how he would feel. But he thought his friend wanted a open casket, not a closed casket. And so he
gets really mad,
and it's crowded. It's like he's like one of the last people they show.
And he runs up to the casket and he goes, "No, this is not gonna be. They're gonna see what happened to him. They're gonna know why he's dead." And he opens up the casket and he's got this like creepy makeup on.
Yeah, the horrible like eyebrow pencil.
Oh, I think that was another message, was that like, oh, they made him look gay or something. Like they purposefully put like creepy drag queen makeup on him. Because
it wasn't that severe like of the makeup. It just looked weird.
Because didn't you see your sister at the funeral? Didn't you get to see her? Or didn't you get to see your mom at her funeral?
No, I didn't do either one.
Oh. You could have helped us with that.
I did that with my grandma, and I didn't care for that.
Well, what did it look? Did it look like that with your grandma? Did the makeup look like that? I did it with my dad
too, so that would be even later.
Did it look like that?
No, not at all.
Oh, well, there you go.
It would just look as normal as he could look with his glasses on, I think.
Well, so it was another message where it was like, the mortician or something made him look gay, so that if people saw him, they'd know this is a gay person who died.
So Adam walks up and said, calmed him down, and didn't they close the casket back up?
No, they left it open.
Oh, they left it open. Okay.
But that was hilarious, Safi. It was the ultimate Gino thing to do.
It was. So he got to do what he does best.
It gets an A+. an A+ just for those 2 moments where he just completely freaks out and does weird things.
No, but it's just so weird because the serial killer's long dead now, and you have all of this, what came true from the tarot cards, death everywhere and sickness.
And it was weird because we never saw Sandra Barnhard.
No,
again.
And I was thinking they were going to show her. That was weird. And
so I guess she died too.
No,
off screen.
Not necessarily. It's different with women.
It's different with lesbians.
That's no. They don't. No.
Safi, Sandra Barnhard. You know, do you see Safi? She. Okay, never mind.
No, don't do it. Anyway, but you could see that it was truly an American horror story because it was just so depressing and bleak. It was just bleak, and the clouds were. It wasn't even kind of dark. It wasn't even.
Well, they were going to these different scenes, like.
Yeah.
It wasn't dark always. Like they went to that.
They did that outdoor scene where the guy threw himself out the window.
No, they did the beach scene too.
Oh yeah.
And they did the scene in the forest. Flashback with the mustache man.
Yeah.
And so the first part was really good because they finally explored Zachary Quinto's character, and they kind of just showed that I don't know, that he was taking things out on other people, and so I thought that was cool. But the only thing that was unfortunate was it really felt like it could have been the perfect redemption arc. It felt like it would have been really cool if they had another episode where he woke up and he did get better, and then he would fund the cure.
But the only person, it seemed to me, who escaped it all, he did have Kaposi's.
Safi, that's the next episode.
Well, okay,
I'm on this episode.
Well, this episode.
And so then the second half of this episode,
they're dropping like flies.
The mustache man, he dies. And the only thing, well, there were a couple of flaws in this finale. I do think there were some things that could have been done more. It really more so has to do with the rest of the season. Because in isolation, these 2 episodes were really good. They both get A+. But the thing is that the rest of the season could have been done better. And there were things that didn't get resolved, in my opinion. Like with the mustache man, they had that whole weird bondage subplot where it was kind of like a red herring for, what's he doing with all this bondage stuff? What's he doing with all this stuff? And, what's up with him? And then it never gets resolved. And then you have the fact that, so he had this weird storyline where you felt like, what's the deal with the mustache man? To me, I thought there was going to be a twist where it turned out the mustache man had a twin brother or something, and that he was the Big Daddy. And really, the big problem with me was Big Daddy.
Well,
because
I just, the way, at the beginning, you think it's another perpetrator.
But he was. You saw the scene where he kills the wife.
Well, that's the part that I don't
So that was
understand.
weird. He was there physically. He got shot in the head. He killed the guy's wife. So there's been multiple times where he's done physical things. He had those fights, and it's he's just the Grim Reaper. That didn't make sense to me. I thought they should have had it where he was another perpetrator or something, and then he would die and become the Grim Reaper or something. Because they did that with the killer. They brought back Mr. Whiteley, and that was really cool seeing Frankenstein. And he got to have a couple of cool moments. And he was kind of like another Grim Reaper character. So
Frankenstein character.
But wasn't it funny seeing him, Safi, and he comes in and you're like, yay! Like, have you ever cheered for a serial killer before that, Safi?
No,
Really?
because it was fake.
I mean, you didn't cheer for OJ?
Oh, God. Oh, he didn't do that. Somebody else did, but he never figured out who that was.
I think it was probably aliens, like in season 10.
Maybe
Like
it
maybe,
was aliens.
maybe Valiant Thor did it from season 10. And that was another weird thing, was there was never any alien element the whole season.
No.
And I haven't seen the rest of the seasons. I've only seen seasons 1, 2, some of 3, and 10.
The last one, yeah.
And so, in all those seasons, there was an alien element. And so I have to, question, why wasn't there
Well,
an alien element?
the only supernatural, quote-unquote, thing in it was the tarot cards.
It was Big Daddy as well, technically.
And him, I guess. What happened with them and what happened with him.
Yeah, like they had it at first to where I thought Big Daddy is the Grim Reaper, and then over the season, it's kind of like revealed that he's real and that he's physically there, and then all of a sudden now he's just not there. He's a Grim Reaper.
But
so I was confused.
What happens is the reason why we're calling him the Grim Reaper now was because of everybody's death, who they show,
he appears,
but he doesn't do anything. He kind of stands and is watching, but he has his outfit on.
Yeah. Well, and they had this part too where Zachary Quinto takes off his mask, and then he's like sort of a pretty boy, and Zachary Quinto kisses him
like a Nordic model.
Well, that's what I said. It reminded me of the Seventh Seal. Because it was like, this could be like a Swedish movie.
He looked like he was from, Sweden or any of those places. He was very pretty.
Another thing to mention is the Hitman. I thought he was the highlighted character of the second half of the season. And I guess he died like off screen. Because all of a sudden he's playing like some sort of like a ghost for Zachary Quinto. And so I thought that was sucky too, because there was really not even any point to him falling in love with Gino, because that never served any purpose.
And I'm not really sure too that he died from AIDS.
Yeah,
he could have just died from old age.
Well, I don't know.
We don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know.
His hairpiece died. Thank God.
He died a long time ago.
Well, I just hope they don't give him a terrible hairpiece like that ever again. Because that hairpiece was like, Safi, that's one of the worst hairpieces I've ever seen next to Saul's from season 5 of Better Call Saul. Remember that, Safi?
I think so.
They gave him that terrible fake hair and ugh. Yeah, that's terrible.
You have to have a lot of money, and that may not work either, to get a wig.
I think you should wear a hairpiece like that guy.
No, Marco,
you should do that.
About that.
And then you should put some sunglasses on.
No.
And you could become a hitman.
No.
For the Gay Mafia. And that's another thing, is that the Gay Mafia never comes into play either. Like,
I don't know what that is.
The people who the hitman works for. Like, they were mad
he just worked for himself.
No, he worked for the Gay Mafia. And remember, he was supposed to kill Gino because he was bringing bad attention to the gay bars and making people not want to go.
Yeah.
See, that's what I mean, where I say that like this felt really incomplete, because it really didn't feel like all the elements came together into an ending that worked as a whole.
It was kind of like
it was disjointed.
You ever played Pac-Man, and you're on your last person, and then you lose, and it goes. That's what it felt like, because
really
these pieces just fell off.
Yeah, that is
and disappeared.
It was like a game of Pac-Man, in a good way. and it did feel like horror episodes, both of
Yes,
them.
it
And
did.
so
Yeah.
I really liked that. I thought these were the 2 episodes in the season where both episodes the whole way through felt like horror episodes.
And it was so true. It was truly an American horror story.
Yeah, Safi, did it remind you?
It's different in Tanzania.
Did it remind you of when you know, when
I don't know what you're talking about.
you know?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
Marco, would you stop already? I don't know what he's doing. But anyway,
How did you survive,
your experience was
Safi?
different, but this was more because everybody was an adult.
Did Big Daddy save you?
Oh my God. Everybody was an adult here, and in Bukova you're talking about families. And you didn't see...
They can't hear you anymore, Safi.
In Bukoba, Tanzania, it was about families.
They can't hear you.
And this was about adult men and a couple of women here and there. When Adam started investigating, especially after the lady died, the doctor, he was going all over. He went to Patty Lapone. Remember, she had 2 businesses. One was the tarot card.
God, you're already on to the next episode.
Okay, I don't know what to say then.
Well,
okay, I'm not going to say anything
You have to finish a thought, Safi. You have to say, okay, the first part was really good. It was an A+, 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, lots of AIDS, like you. And the second episode we're now on to the second part. So the second part, it was basically all about Gino, and it was the downfall of Gino.
And of the community.
It was really great because all of the work that he did was for nothing. And it just showed that, like, you know, all of that crybaby, like, temper tantrums and protesting and, you know, all of that didn't do anything.
No.
At all.
It was really about his deterioration. In fact, he didn't even have any more temper tantrums.
No, he couldn't because he was just so, weak.
He was too sick. You saw him walking slowly. Then you saw him with a walker or a cane. And then you saw him with the walker. And then he wasn't walking anymore. He was in bed. And then he passed away. So,
Yeah, it was really good because his character, this was probably the only episode where he was ever likable. So, it's just unfortunate that he couldn't have been like that the whole season. Instead of being like a cartoon. Like, he was a lot better in this finale. And the whole episode was kind of like a music video. And they had like this montage of going through the years. And Big Daddy would come in and he would kill all these people. Or he'd just come onto the screen and then people would disappear. And it was almost like really cool because it felt like he was like an iconic villain, even though he was just like a symbolic villain rather than a real one. And they had like this really cool scene where he's in the bar and he's ordering Mai Tais, and then the people next to him would keep on disappearing, and we got to see Mr. Whiteley again.
mm-hmm.
And he got killed on screen, which was funny. He just gets his throat slit out of nowhere. There was also a really good scene where he's working in the office. He's typing on his typewriter, and he's typing in the exact same way that he did when he injured his fingers at the beginning of the season. Like there's no change. But then you see Big Daddy come in and he starts shooting everyone with the machine gun. Remember that, Safi?
Yeah.
And so all the people that worked for him died of AIDS. And so basically you could just describe these last 2 episodes as AIDS! And Safi, do you know what?
What?
I would like to formally re-invite AIDS to join me at the 2023 Jones Awards, because as you guys know, AIDS joined me as a co-host for the 2022 Jones Awards, and so I hope that AIDS will join me again.
I have no idea what he is talking about. It's bizarre
Because
and weird and slap in the face.
AIDS was the perfect
to
villain.
all the people who died.
AIDS was the perfect villain, and so I really have to commend AIDS for doing a good job, because he deserves an Emmy, he deserves an Oscar, and I hope that he joins me again. Uh-oh. That was Bernie. He said, I'll join you too.
As soon as you give me my lunch. He's ready for lunch.
So, Safi, what do you think about that? Are you excited for AIDS to join me again?
No, I think you're stupid to say that.
Why?
Anyway, it's by the end of the second episode, they've gone through like this historical, where they go they tick off each year, and then you see how things that Adam was talking about, and his, I don't know what she is, his friend who died,
his quote unquote friend,
the girl,
his
the
friend.
woman, the doctor, how she had thought from her research that it was sexually transmitted, and he knew everything about it, and he went to the doctor. He had a lesion and he had it fixed, which was gross, because to put it under, so they could test it. And he says, I know what it is. And the doctor says, oh really? And he says, yeah, it's Kaposi sarcoma. And he says, oh, now, he said, you're too young. You're not infected with that. You're gonna be okay. Come on. And I did read that it is treatable.
Yeah, so Adam survives.
Yes, Adam is the last man standing.
He's the only survivor, which is fitting because his name is Adam, and so that's supposed to be some sort of a biblical symbol.
Really?
Well, wouldn't you agree?
I guess so. I didn't think about that.
He's the one who survives.
It's so funny because you think it's some kind of woman. Lately, it's been a woman or whatever.
What do you mean?
In these shows,
the
last survivor's a woman. Or whatever.
Yeah, that's always like the final girl.
The final girl, yeah.
Safi, do you know what's worse than AIDS?
What?
Final girls.
Oh God.
It's true.
So anyway, by this time, because it's 1987, he knows all about everything about it, AIDS, and so is the media, and like there's posters and information. They show it in the paper and like announcements that are spread on street lamps and bulletin boards, but you see him. He's at a funeral here and a funeral there, and so it just kind of leaves off at that, really. At least he's okay. Somebody's okay.
Yeah, Adam is giving the speech at Gino's funeral, and then I think he coughs a little bit and the show ends. Yeah. So I don't know if they're trying to hint that he's going to die as well or what, but I just took it as that he needed to clear his throat, because that can happen sometimes.
Yeah, well,
with anyone.
He could cry. I thought he was going to cry. So that's it. And I just thought they were done very well. I don't know if people watched it because it's just not the traditional American Horror Story.
Well, the rest of the season was so bad. How can you blame them?
Yeah, but this one was really good. I mean,
yeah.
Because it's just like, here you have this community And this community is only a microcosm of how this spread worldwide. And like where we were in Bacoba, and in Bacoba they called it the slim disease or wasting disease, because it made you really skinny before you died. I don't know if it's because you couldn't eat or you had...
Well, Safi, they talked about that in the episode.
Well, anyway, that it was, people just didn't know what was hitting them, and nobody was doing anything. And
Really?
if they were, they didn't know about it. They didn't know they were doing anything about it.
So how did you get the cure? Did you get
There is
the
no
antidote?
cure. There's no antidote.
Did you get
cure.
the antidote for yourself in Dom Gea?
Oh, okay, I'm leaving.
Remember Dom Gea?
Yeah, that's a made-up thing that Marco made up when he was a little child. You know what he's talking about. It didn't have AIDS. You don't get cured from AIDS.
Yeah, but you got the cure at Dom Gea. I thought they were both really good because they were done very well. And I thought it was funny because I would say that this is probably the best American Horror Story finale that we've seen.
Yeah,
the
last one was not good.
It's better than both finales in season 10. It was better than the finale of season 2. And it was better than the finale of season 1. So it was basically the best finale that we've seen. And it was really, really good because it finally treated the people like they're characters and not like they're just stereotypes like the rest of the season. There were some disappointing things. Like, I really thought that there should have been more to Big Daddy.
Yeah, that was a mystery. It's still a mystery.
I didn't feel like everything really came together. I just felt like everything ended. Like, nothing really came together in a concrete way. And I really felt like there should have been an alien element. Sandra Barnhart disappeared. She's nowhere to be seen.
Mm-mm.
I guess based on this episode and last, you could determine she's dead. Because Big Daddy showed up at their place at the Fire Island. And then I really wanted to see the Sentinel come to life. I thought that was a big wasted opportunity. I thought they easily could have done that. They were doing so many of these hallucinations and illusions. They could have had a part where the Sentinel comes to life and he stands in the middle of the city or something. Mm-hmm. Or maybe he stands in the middle of the funeral. You know, that would have been really, really good. And I don't know, I just feel like it was too little too late. Like, even though I give both episodes A+, I feel like, where was the rest of the season? Like, it really felt like Ryan Murphy came in at the very end, and he was like, whoops, I'm back. And they were like, oh, wow, yay. And then it was over. And I really feel like they should have done the thing where it was a fake out, and that then it would all turn out positive.
No.
Yeah.
Well, the positive thing was they figured out what it was. They just didn't know how to, at that time, they didn't even know what they were going to do to treat it. They figured out steps to take, that it was spread by bodily fluids, and that they needed to use condoms when they were having sex and not have multiple sex partners, etc., etc., etc. And there's also the needle sharing, where you don't share needles. And I don't know if they said that part or not, but I just know that from...
They never really go into where it came from. And this is another thing where I said that this is supposed to be a show.
They started
because, you know, they could have had a really great plot where they go to Plum Island.
Yeah.
And they fight the bad guys there, like X-Files. And they
talked
discover...
about it.
Yeah, they talked about it, and I thought...
And then that was it.
Wow, they could do a lot with this. And it's like, no, they didn't do anything with it. They just treated it like real life. And so I think they should have had more episodes. The episodes should have been longer, because the finale was only 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And they should have had that happen. They should have had all the things that I said happen. But still, I would say it was way better than Chucky,
Oh, God.
which we'll be talking about, unfortunately. So,
That was a disastrous mess.
oh yeah, it was a piece of crap.
Very disappointing. So, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and like our channel and become one of our subscribers, because we welcome your comments and your participation. And goodbye.